She's sitting right now. What are you doing? Yeah. Hi everybody, welcome to A Case of the Jills. So yes, now would be a good time to take a look at who's behind me, since this video has to do with Tulip. In my Instagram post, I mentioned how Tulip was a really important part of my recovery from hypothalamic amenorrhea and my decision to try to recover from overtraining syndrome. A lot of you asked me to explain a little bit more about how Tulip came into my life, how Tulip came into our life, and so I thought I would do that today. I actually had another video planned that was a lot more serious and technical, but it was just something about this week that made me think something light would be good. So going back almost 3 years ago now, I was training for the Rome Marathon, which I was going to be running on my birthday. Going into that marathon, I knew it was planned that this would be my last marathon, at least for, any measurable amount of time. My plan was to try to go ahead and get my period back. So the idea was, okay, this is my last hurrah. And by the way, I'm not suggesting that anyone does this or blows their brains out in a marathon the last way out, but that's what I did. It was a big round number birthday, and so we had planned the marathon before I actually planned the recovery part. I was doing a lot of thinking about what I wanted this recovery process to do for me. I was thinking a lot about how I wanted my life to be coming out of being an athlete. It was such a huge part of my life. I was really ready to consider what other things I might be missing, what other things I could add to my life. It was really important for me to go through the process thinking, okay, this is not gonna take from me, this is actually gonna afford me extra opportunities, this is gonna add to my life. In thinking about things that would add to my life, of course, along the way came the idea of a pet. My husband, at the time my boyfriend, had never had a pet, ever in his whole life, in his family. So I broached the subject with him a couple of times, and he kind of was like, oh, I'm not really sure, which, I completely understand. You either have to be it's something you want to do or it's something you just are not into. He was more like, I don't want my life to change, we are very free, we can do what we want, I don't want to have to be thinking about an animal. So fine. The only thing I can connect this to is when people who have children tell me, women will say that they look around and they see babies everywhere and they just get this tug in their stomach. Well, I was seeing dogs everywhere, and I knew what kind of dog I wanted. I knew I wanted a Greyhound. So for some reason, I was just seeing Greyhounds everywhere. We were living in Rhode Island at the time, and there's a bunch of Greyhound rescues relatively nearby because they used to have Greyhound racing in Rhode Island. So it's not uncommon to see ex-racing Greyhounds walking around. So I'll never forget, my husband and I went for a long run to train for the marathon. I think it was our last long run. We were running down this bike path, this really long bike path, and I swear that I must have seen 5 Greyhounds. Well, by the end of it, I was crying. I was running, I really think I want a dog. I don't know if it was hormones or heading toward a big birthday or just going through this whole kind of crisis of life change, but I wanted a dog so badly. When I'm determined to do something, I am determined. So this one day, my husband was working and I had the day off, and I drove myself up to Hopkinton, Massachusetts to a Greyhound Friends rescue, and I opened up the door and said, I think I'd like to adopt a Greyhound. Of course, I would never do that without his consent. We lived together. I would never do that. But I just wanted to see them. So I went in and I walked around and I was looking at all of the Greyhounds. I knew I wanted a girl. There was this one little one. She was brindle, kind of sitting in the cage looking up at me. They let me take her for a little bit of a walk, and I took a picture and I sent it to my husband, and I'll show you what I sent him. I drove home and we talked about it back and forth, and it was decided that we were going to get this Greyhound. Okay, but wait a minute, you're going to Rome to go run a marathon. What are you doing? We set up a deal with the rescue that they would transfer her to a kennel for the couple of weeks. We hadn't taken her yet, so she kind of didn't know the difference. They were gonna transfer her to a kennel. We were gonna go away to Italy for a couple of weeks, and when we came back, we would pick up our baby. That trip was insane. First of all, we were super excited doing the marathon. We'd done a bunch of marathons together before, but this one was, you know, gonna be kind of a big deal. It was a big birthday. I was really, you know, nervous. I had a lot of emotions because I knew that once we came home, reality was gonna hit. I was gonna be backing off of running. I was gonna be eating more and trying to recover from amenorrhea. But also I knew that I was coming home to something so amazing, which was my new dog. It really helped me so much to think that when I wasn't sure how my life was gonna be when I came home. I don't know if this resonates with you, but like I really need structure in my life. Not having the structure of a daily run, somehow it made sense that I would have daily just like walks, things to sort of punctuate my day with the dog. Having that structure really gave me a lot of peace. I am one of those people. It is what it is. Plus I was so just excited. I was excited because I knew that having a dog was never a possibility for me before. I knew that running for me meant getting up at sometimes 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to get runs done before work, running long every weekend, Saturday and Sunday runs. So I knew before that my life could totally not accommodate wake up in the morning, feed a dog, walk a dog, all of that stuff. I was more interested in, more important to me was the idea of being able to go away on trips whenever I wanted to, go do an ultra wherever I wanted to, drive to it. Boarding a dog, like I didn't want to do that. I knew that that wasn't a possibility, or it's just not something that I felt comfortable doing. So dogs were just not part of my life. I knew it wasn't possible. But yet now, opening up this space in my life was like, oh my gosh, I think I can do this. So we're running the race and we're kind of like running around in like Piazza Navona and trying to come up with a name for the dog. She had a horrible name. It was her kennel name. It was Braska Jess. Oh, sorry Tulip for giving up the goods there, but it was a horrible name. And we were running and we were like, should we call her like Nocciola? And then like her nickname would be Nocci, or, you know, but then all of a sudden we're kind of going along and my husband looks at me and he goes, I got it. He said, I think we should name her Tulip. Oh my God, it was the cutest thing I ever heard. I loved the fact that he was the one who thought of the name. That was really special for me because I knew that he was a little bit nervous about the idea of getting a pet. So it was just the right thing. It just sounded right. Here's the part that's super like serendipitous, weird, good karma, this is the right thing for us kind of moment. The day we got home from Italy was actually the day before, it was the Sunday before Marathon Monday, Boston Marathon Monday. If you're from New England or if you know anything about the Boston Marathon, you know that the Boston Marathon, it shuts down pretty much the whole city. It starts in Hopkinton, Massachusetts. Well, guess where the kennel was? Hopkinton, Massachusetts on Marathon Monday. Ex-runner going to pick up her ex-runner dog on the biggest marathon day of the year after having just done a marathon. We waited until the crush of just people were gonna be in Hopkinton like had cleared out, and we drove up there and we picked up our Tulip. It was crazy. It was so exciting. She didn't even know what to do with herself. I mean, greyhounds, it's a whole other story. You know, they are raised in a very particular way. They don't know how to do stairs. They don't know how to get in cars. They don't really know how to dog. So it was very interesting navigating those first few moments with her. It was so emotional. I felt very much like this was a new world for both of us. And then, you know, life happens. So the next morning you get up and you take her for a walk and you're feeding her and you're petting her and hanging out with her, and she's in your life. Sometimes at the beginning of the recovery process, I would be sad. I would be feeling kind of confused or down, and I would just sit with her, or I would pet her, or we would just walk around the block, or we would just kind of sit with each other. And it was just so healing and therapeutic for me. Every single time I looked at her, I knew that she wouldn't be there if I wasn't making this choice to improve my health. And I know you're gonna ask me, well, what did your husband say? You won't believe this, but I think that she is more attached to him than she is to me. I know he loves her so much. He just has this way with her. It has really changed even him. And yes, she still provides that structure for my day. She also still provides that kind of emotional support that I really came to rely on. When I have my down moments, and believe me, I do, probably more often than, you know, Instagram or YouTube will make you think, you know, Tulip is an important part of how I take care of myself. And she's just something for me to really be proud of, in the sense that she's here because I'm here. I'm so happy that people were curious about my relationship with Tulip and how she came to be in our lives. I really hope that this video helps you understand that. And it may not be a pet. It may totally not be a pet. It may be something completely different. It could be school, or it could be a job choice, or it can be travel, or writing a book, or a million other things. You could decide to take up an instrument. But make no mistake, if you are on that verge of recovery and you're not sure what you want to do, there are other things that are going to fill your life. Your life is going to become fuller. There's going to be more things in your life when you are ready to move on and step into recovery. Recovery is not about living with less, it's about opening up to more. I guess the theme of this video is run less, love more. We hope that you're having a great day wherever you are, and we will see you again soon. Thanks for watching.